They finally did it. YoloLive finally released an external controller for the YoloBox. In this video, we're gonna take a look at the YoloDeck and see exactly what it can do. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. Before we get started, I wanna thank YoloLive for sending this over to share with you on the channel. So let's take a closer look at how this works. You might recognize this. It looks a lot like a Stream Deck, and that is no accident. It's definitely closely modeled after a Stream Deck. The YoloDeck has 15 buttons. There's 5 across the top, 3 down, and it has just one USB-C port in the back, which is the power and data connectivity to the YoloBox. Now this is made to work directly with the YoloBox. There is no software to install. There's no other configuration or any other apps to run. You plug it in and it just goes. So it does come with this little stand, which you can use to set it at different angles. There's a couple different options for angles here. And then this just kind of sits right in there. So I'm gonna set this down here. I'm gonna plug in the USB-C cable. It comes with the 90-degree adapter, which is a little bit nicer for cable management. I'll plug that end in there. And the other end of this is actually USB-A, which is great because it plugs right into the YoloBox Ultra. Once it turns on, you'll notice it just boots right up and you've got buttons. Similar to a Stream Deck, you do have pages. The page navigation buttons are in the bottom right corner here, and you can navigate between pages once you create multiple pages in the software. So to set up the buttons, we actually have to go scroll over here to the settings screen. And if you scroll down to the bottom here, there's this new option here called YoloDeck configuration. This is the screen where you can configure what all the buttons do. I'm going to go through some of the options here so we can see. It ships with these default buttons, which are the options to toggle different 5 different sources of video and toggle on or off 5 different overlays. There's also the go live, record, and fade to black buttons, and then your page navigation buttons. Now, personally, I don't actually really like using the page of buttons like this. I prefer to use more specialized pages to run a show. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the buttons here in a way that I would actually use to run my live stream from the YoloBox. So I'm going to back out of this first, and we're actually going to go look quickly at what I've got in the YoloBox configured. So you can see I have a couple different camera angles for the different cameras that are around the room here. Then I've got these overlays, and the overlays are going to, I will be limited in which ones I can control. So I'm going to make sure that the ones I want to use buttons for are in the top chunk of overlays. But this will be things that I would use to start and end the show. So my countdown timer, the logo, I might actually start the show with the logo on the screen and then bring in the countdown timer on top of the logo. And then when I want to start the show, I need to remove both. And that'll let me start the show. I might bring in a little live icon in the corner once we're up and running. I also have my map here, which shows where all the viewers are joining from, which is just a web page graphics. And then I've got my other web graphics here, which are what's gonna let me do other fun animations. And maybe I have like an Instagram overlay, and so people can find me on Instagram. So those are the overlays I might use in a show. And I'm gonna actually create buttons for them that'll let me do all the actions I need to in order to actually run this show. So for example, when I start the show, I'll bring my logo and countdown timer on, but I want to make sure that the audio is not on. So let's say I'm running my audio through a camera. This means the microphone is now on, but for the countdown timer, I don't want it on, right? So then to start the show, what I need to do is actually do 3 things. I need to turn on the audio and turn off the overlays. And as you can tell, pressing the buttons on the touch screen make that kind of difficult. So now what I can do is actually put all the buttons on the YoloDeck right here in the order that I need to press them. So let me go back over to the settings page here, go to YoloDeck configuration, and I'm going to leave this page alone just so that I have it here as sort of the default page, but I'm going to make a second page for my custom buttons. So this page will be where I will start the show. So we'll do like setup buttons up here to set up the pre-roll, and then buttons to actually start the stream. So to set up the show, I need to go and find the graphics and the overlays that I want to use. Unfortunately, they're just numbered right now. I kind of wish that it would copy the names over here so I could see what they are. But I remember the countdown timer is 1. And if I remember correctly, my logo was in 1, 2, 3 or 5. I think it may have been 5. So we'll do that. So that will let me toggle the countdown on and off and the logo. And then I also want my microphone, my audio from HDMI 1. Again, I'm assuming that I have my audio coming in from HDMI 1. And now I'm actually realizing that that doesn't exist yet. So this is a good example of feature request. So I did hear from YoloLive when they sent this over that they are actively looking for feedback on which other control features you would want to see in this list here. So my first request is going to be toggle individual audio channels on and off, because of course I want to be able to make a button there that just turns on and off my main microphone. So the next best thing I can do though is at least there's a button here which will switch me to the audio mixing tab. I'm actually going to put it down here kind of with my page navigation buttons. That will jump me to the mixing tab. And then I'm going to also make a button here to switch to the overlay tab just so I can get back to that screen. So let's go ahead and save this and try this out. So you can see it just kind of flashed over there as it was saving the buttons to the YoloDeck. Now I can back out of this. And now on the YoloDeck, I can go over here and click to page 2 and my custom buttons are loaded in. So now to start the show, I can press the overlay tab to go over here. And let's see if I did this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So this should this should turn on the logo. And then this one should bring in the countdown timer. Now, again, I want a button here for the audio, but I can at least press that, stay on the mixing tab. And now when I'm ready to start the show, once the timer goes down, I can actually do this with 2 hands because I don't have to be navigating the screens as well. So I should be able to, let's turn that off during the countdown timer. So once the show is about to start, let's say it's in 3, 2, 1, I'll go ahead and turn on the microphone and then press here to end the countdown and turn off the logo. And now we're on the air. Of course, we were just on whatever camera angle was left over there. So maybe I'll make this row my camera angles. So let's go back to the settings, YoloDeck configuration, over to page 2. And I'm going to just drag in the source buttons here. And then let's say I'm using 4 cameras for the show. So I'm only going to have 4 buttons there. We'll go ahead and save that. Updates there. We can back out of this. And now once I go over to page 2 here, now I can see, okay, if I'm going to start the show, I'm going to start it on camera 1 there. And then I can, again, go back to the logo, countdown timer. And then when I'm ready to go, jump over to the mixing tab. When I'm ready to start the show, turn that on, turn off the logo, turn off the countdown, and the show is live. Let's take a look at some of the other actions that are in here right now, and then maybe you can leave a comment down below if there's any actions that you would want to have buttons for as well. So I'll go back over to the configuration tab, and we can see we've got actions for all the sources up to 10. So 10 sources. There's obviously not 10 ports here, but the video sources can be things like videos playing back from an SD card, or they could be an NDI video feed, or even a SRT video feed. So whatever your first 10 sources are, you'll be able to choose from make buttons for here. There's also replay buttons. So start replay and stop replay. Of course, that means you'll have to have your replay settings already configured ahead of time. This is a really handy one. If you if you are showing graphics from a PDF, you might remember how frustrating it was to have to tap the tiny buttons on the screen in the PDF in order to change pages. So now there's actually physical buttons for them as well. This function section is more like affecting the YoloBox, like switching the tabs, or program max will make the video full screen. This is actually selecting, let's see, we'll make a button here so we can press it, program out, and go live and pause live. Let's save that. So program out actually made it so that the HDMI out is actually the program feed, no longer the multi-view, which is a setting that you get in here. And I actually want to switch it back because I want my TV screen to show the YoloBox screen, not the program video. There's the video out setting. So that button, now press that, which I guess can be useful if you need to make sure that your HDMI out is the program out. And you can actually toggle it, although it doesn't update the button state here. But you can toggle it back and forth with that. The go live button, of course, is go live. That's going to actually start the stream. In this other section, this is next config and last config. That would be the page navigation buttons. There's a button to start and stop recording. And then here's the overlay sections. So again, you can add buttons for up to the first 10 overlays. So that was, again, why I mentioned wanting to put my graphics in the first 10 slots. I'm going to use buttons for. And there's a very useful whole section for the scoreboard. So if you are doing sports streaming with this, you can now create physical buttons on the deck for the scoreboard. Let's go ahead and set some of those up so we can see how that works. So I'll make a new page for the scoreboard. You can see there's buttons to increment and decrement the scores by 1, 2, and 3, both for the home and away team. So I'm going to drag this one in here, and then unfortunately, actually, you know what? I'm going to move it I'm going to do the 3 buttons like this. So 1, 2, and 3, minus, -1, -2, -3. We'll do +1, +2, +3. Of course, if you're doing a game that doesn't even have the concept of -3 points at any given point, you can just skip that button. And then, unfortunately, I don't have a free spot. Can I overwrite the page button? I can. And now I need to bring my page, move my page button. Let's do that and move it there. I think I actually like the button stack there anyway, so it's nice that you can move them around. Okay, great. So let's save that, and then we'll back out of this and create a scoreboard on the stream. So I have to create it first over here. Display the scoreboard. Let's make it bigger so we can actually see it. Now that that's created, I can go over here to the page of scoreboard buttons, and let's see, this probably turns on and off the scoreboard. Yeah, so that's bringing it on and off the air. And then we've got the buttons to change the scores. So now I can just quickly go add 1 to the scores there. We can add points over there. We can subtract points over there. So this is a much faster way of controlling this. That way you can also, with your other hand, be over here and dealing with graphics. You can bring that on while also changing the scores. So a couple other things I noticed. Of course, this is a USB device. So that means it is physically wired to the YoloBox. It is not a wireless device, and there's no network option for this. So let me just pull out the cable here and I'll show you how long the cable is. It's a decent length, so you can actually put this YoloDeck kind of far away from the YoloBox. Looks like it's about 4 feet, maybe 6 feet. So that's a good length, and that means you can actually give this to somebody else, for example, to control the buttons while you're there on the YoloBox. Or if you had the YoloBox far away from you, you could then have the controller, the YoloDeck, close up. And again, there is no configuration other than the button setup in the YoloBox. As soon as you plug this in, it will just boot up and the YoloBox takes control of the YoloDeck. So now you can see this is a much quicker way to be able to quickly navigate the different options that you've got in the YoloBox. You can create multiple pages of buttons. I probably would recommend keeping your page up and down in the same position so you're not jumping around like I am here. But this is a much faster way to control actually what's going on in the YoloBox. And now you got physical buttons where I can even, like, without looking, I can feel that that's the top left button. And now I know that's going to jump to camera 1 rather than having to look at the box itself in order to change cameras. And like I mentioned earlier, they are looking for feedback on what other actions in the YoloBox you would like to be able to create buttons for. So leave a comment down below if there's particular actions that you often find yourself wishing that there was a quick way to access. Maybe it's something that's buried in a menu 5 levels deep and you want to be able to pull it out into a physical button next to the YoloBox with the YoloDeck. And again, thanks to YoloLive for sending this over to take a look at and share with you on the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.